So we're chatting about Juniper Networks' recent virtual summit, which I think was called Driven by Experience. Let's get that right. So perhaps you can give us a high-level view of sort of what was the thinking behind the event and now it's happened, how successful it was.
Thank you, Phil. Experience first networking is our new tagline that we've launched early this year, and really what we've pivoted the company around and the products around is delivering sort of amazing customer experience. And what does customer experience mean, right? So if you think of Juniper Networks, our customers is the network IT teams. They are the IT engineers, the IT directors, IT leadership. So first, we want to make sure they have a great experience with the product. And I'll describe that in more detail as we go through the conversation. And the second is we are intensely focused on the end user experience, right? So it's when you and I are walking into a retail store, a healthcare facility, or our own enterprises. Are we having an amazing experience? Are we having a great Wi-Fi experience? And then, can we digitize this experience, right? So that when you walk in, you have a mobile app and you can go find the people you need to, or the room you need to, the resources you need to. So it's experience first networking for us is about IT experience and the end user experience at the overall customers that we serve.
In terms of the themes of the conference, I know we'll go through some of them, but the first one and the one that's potentially most interesting was around the benefits of harnessing network data. I guess that's quite a broad sort of idea, but what in practical terms does that mean?
So what we've done, Phil, is there is a lot of data, right? There is definitely, as you and I are connecting to the networks, we're connecting into the network itself, we're connecting to the Wi-Fi, the switching, the packets go through the data center, they're secure end to end. There is a lot of data in terms of our connection experience, our connection state, the packets we're transmitting, the destinations we're going to, all of this kind of stuff, right? So historically, what happened was that we would take this data and it would sort of just disappear into the ether, so to say, is the data never really got used to make our experience better, to turn it back towards making our experience better. So just to give you an example, right now, what we're doing is, let's say you are connected on the Wi-Fi network. Every user, every device, if you have 3 phones and 2 iPads and a laptop, every device of that, every minute, we're asking the question, was that a good user experience minute, device experience minute for every one of your devices, right? So when we can harness network data to actually answer the question, was the experience good? What that has done is we have pivoted this entire conversation around not only seeking better experiences, but that's the noble goal, but actually measuring and knowing whether we're delivering good experiences. And so we've really harnessed a lot of data. We take literally terabytes, petabytes of data into the cloud every day. And we're trying to understand, is the iPhone experience better? Is the Android experience good? Is the MacBook Pro experience better? And how is it organized across, within an organization, at a site, multiple sites, globally, all that kind of stuff. So data is definitely the new oil for us, and data is the foundation for all things AI and AIOps. And so, yeah, we absolutely are harnessing that to measure and then deliver good experiences.
You mentioned AIOps there. For enough, a theme close to my heart. I've done a couple of sort of virtual events during lockdown about, and I'm sure you're aware there are lots of different AIOps vendors coming from different positions, including the network position. So in terms of your AIOps sort of solution involvement, is that your own technology, or have you partnered with one of the pure play AIOps vendors? Can you just give us a bit more detail on the AIOps part of this sort of harnessing network data?
Absolutely. So 100% of what we're talking about AIOps is 100% homegrown to Juniper. The reason is, I mean, general AI ops, as you know, definitely as an expert, you're speaking to a lot of people around this. General AI ops, this is quite a bit away from being applicable in every scenario. And so what we've done is we've built domain-specific AI specific to the network. We started with Wi-Fi. Then we added, wired networks, and then now we've added SD-WAN and security into it. So AI, so the AI engine we have here at Juniper, we call it Marvis. And so Marvis has been built ground up within Juniper, within the Mist team that came in with the Mist acquisition, but is now expanded to all of the Juniper portfolio. So whether it's switching, routing, SD-WAN, we're able to take data. And so we actually followed, Phil, a 5-stage process in the building of this journey, right? Step 1, like we talked about, just is data. Step 2 is this notion of measuring what matters, which is experiences. So service level experiences is what we wanted to measure. Step 3 is this is where we used homegrown, purpose-built algorithms and tools specifically to, just to give you an example, right? When we go onto a network and let's say the DHCP server is the one that's not able to permit us onto the network, didn't give us an IP address, is that happening to all users, happening at a certain time, all this kind of stuff, using neural networks to actually do anomaly detection. So phase 1 data, phase 2 measuring what matters and service level expectations. Phase 3 is the algorithms, and phase 4, the step 4, is a virtual assistant to consume all of this, right? A conversational assistant to really just say, hey, what's wrong with this user, and being able to get an answer instantly, and not have to piece part the entire thing together. And then the final ultimate thing is, and so we truly believe we are the only self-driving network in the industry. Obviously, you take Tesla, you take any of these self-driving constructs, there's a driver-assisted self-driving, and then there's the autonomous self-driving notion. We are still in the driver-assisted self-driving, but what it is when we can take an action intrinsic to our system, we don't wake up the IT team, we actually take the action. So we truly do self-driving today for the network. And then our goal is to expand the library of things that we can self-drive, right? So yeah, that's the 5-phase journey. And yeah, absolutely 100% homegrown within Juniper.
And I guess the 5 steps you've alluded to, there maybe is a 6th one somewhere in the future. I know everyone talks about sort of the idea of self-healing networks, so that truly automated networks, when human beings are maybe just occasionally glancing at what's going on, but more, in general terms, happy that the network is looking after itself. So I guess sort of network automation more generally, and that goal of self-healing networks. What sort of time frame, or how do you see that playing out, I guess?
Yeah, so I would say if there is a phase 6. So we do self-healing today. That's what we call self-driving. If there is a phase 6, autonomous networks, truly self-implementing networks and self-organizing networks, we are far away from that, in my view. But definitely, when the rest of the world can get there, networks can get there. There's one way to think about networks, right? So what you could say, whoa, the network is complex, it's fragile, I got to be careful how I deploy this. But there's another way to view it, which is the view we took and said, you know what? There's actually only a finite set of things that can go wrong in a network, right? And the more you tackle in the self-healing process, the better you make the IT jobs experience, right? And so what we don't have today is truly autonomous deployment and completely human intervention-less deployment. Obviously, you have to physically rack and stack these. We have a lot of automation today. One of the largest networks we deploy, Phil, is is 155,000 access points, right? I mean, massive enterprise. And they deploy 2,000 to 3,000 APs every night. And that's all automation, right? If you had to manually intervene with your previous vendor, they used to do about 300 to 500 APs per night. We multiplied that by almost 10x. Right, and that's so we brought incredible automation with a cloud native platform. So yeah, truly today, unfortunately, most of these are not public references. The world's largest retailer, world's largest e-commerce retailer, the top, enterprises like ServiceNow and many other large enterprises. Once they are large enough, once they see the value for automation. Today, we seem to be the de facto choice, right? So we're enjoying some lead in there.
I guess we can't talk about networks without talking security as well. The two are sort of inextricably linked. And I know at the event you were looking at sort of threat-aware approaches to network security. So can you? I say that we could have a separate conversation about security, I'm sure, for a whole day. But just can you give us the sort of high-level view of what you're meaning by threat-aware approaches and how because you're a network company, but obviously you have to be aware of the security angle as well.
Yeah. Actually, we are one of the few networking companies that actually has a complete security practice and business, right? So we say security and network are not two separate things, right? It is one thing for us. That's why we call it connected security. And so, absolutely. Threat-aware networks is the idea is that the network is natively connected to threat detection systems. So we call it, our product is called Sky ATP, Advanced Threat Protection. And so the Sky ATP system is connected to our wired and wireless network, and we're streaming data to the Sky ATP system. It's doing some of the threat analysis in the cloud, and literally, I mean, if there's a command and control situation happening in an enterprise, if there is any kind of threat detected, we have instant ability to either shut down the device, shut down the port, take data and put that in quarantine, but continue to, harness data from the device to get more, insight into what's happening, all of this kind of stuff. So security interwoven into the fabric of the network. We are one of the probably only two companies that have that. And so, security is integral to what we've done.
That's interesting, because I had a couple of conversations recently that people making the same point that, there are all these security solutions that exist, if you like, in isolation, but every single application needs to have security, if you like, baked in. So that's in essence what you're talking about, rather than getting some, Juniper infrastructure and then laying on top some security. You have that integrated within that networking infrastructure. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. No, that's great. And this may be a silly question because you may have covered it, but software-defined networks have been around for, it seems like donkey's years. Everyone talked about them, and I know there are lots of different sort of slight nuances as to who does what and when. I'm just interested, where are those now? I mean, are these part of this overall network automation picture? Is it something completely different? Just give us a sort of view of, and also, sorry, I'll let you answer in a minute, but are they, now mature? Does virtually everyone use software-defined networks, or have you still got a way to go to persuade people that it is the way forward?
Yeah, actually, great question. So software-defined networks definitely have been around for a long time, and in the initial phase, they were a problem looking for a solution, looking for a problem, I would say. Today, I would say software-defined networks have much more meaning to the use cases that are out there. So they're here and now. But what is software-defined networking? Software-defined networking was, basically be able to define networks in a more intentional constructs, knowing, what do you want to achieve, how do you want to achieve, and then say, state your intent, and then push it down, and the network sort of executes your intent. And so I would say the use case for them has never been more real. And I'll give you an example. So let's say you take a healthcare institution, right? And a healthcare institution, historically, it's a very heavily regulated industry, right? And so you would only put what is approved. You would take months and years to test something before it gets on the network. And the network was so tightly controlled. And so you could, segment all of them onto VLANs, and life was good, right? But you fast forward to today, doctors would go to a conference and suddenly would discover a new, Wi-Fi connected or wired device that is fancy and awesome. And so now healthcare IT can't say, oh yeah, no, that's not getting on our network, because the business side is pulling these new devices onto the network. So what one of the hospitals told me was, hey, we used to deal with IoT devices in the tens of devices, and that has exploded 10 times. We are now dealing with in the hundreds of device types, not number of devices, right? Hundreds of device types, new ones being added every day. And if you take that and say, how do I apply policy? How do I secure, segment, and be able to traffic steer and engineer traffic for these hundreds and exploding, numbers of IoT devices, right? So, bring software-defined networks into this. This is where you want seamless policy that, I specify, okay, it's this type of IoT device, cool. This is the policy I want to do. This is where I want to take this traffic, and this is what it's not supposed to do on my network. All of this kind of stuff, essentially be able to apply that kind of policy uniformly and let your network grow organically without IT having to, put Band-Aid on top of Band-Aid using ACLs. And so I would say the use case is here and real now. The technology exists. The only difference between what Juniper has done, the approach we have taken, and what Cisco and others have done, is we fundamentally believe the answer to this problem is a cloud-based elastic microservices architecture. Cisco has a product called DNA Center. Others are trying to get to the cloud. Nobody actually has anything close. And so we have launched the only cloud-native software-defined network that can be managed from the cloud. And one cloud, the Mist cloud, manages Wi-Fi, switching, SD-WAN, all of it from the cloud. So we fundamentally feel we have a technology, almost a generational edge over our competitors on this, and consequently, it's been widely successful.
Okay, no, that's great. And maybe just before we close, we're talking, when the video comes out, it's probably finished, but at the moment, COP26 is busy going on in Glasgow. So sustainability is, crept up the agenda for all businesses and obviously in the IT sector. So I'm just curious as to what Juniper as an organization is doing to address, if you like, your own sustainability responsibilities. And also, are you finding increasingly customers are asking you about that and also asking for sort of help with their sustainability objectives?
Great, absolutely. I think as a company, we have major initiatives around sustainability. We routinely partner with customers in sustainability efforts. But let me address from a product perspective a little bit on. So the question was, do customers ask us how we help attain their sustainability initiatives, right? And so step one for us is, can the products consume less energy, when they're not in a fully operational state? Maybe there are no users in the office, and can they consume less power, that kind of stuff? And absolutely, right? Today, if you look at it, the approach we've taken is that we want the system intrinsically to basically consume less power and energy when usage is less automatically, right? Not have to put in a separate mode. And so literally, my philosophy is, people shouldn't have to ask for it. People should just get it. And so all of our products, by design, they consume less power when there is less usage of it. So that's number one from a product perspective. At a business level, yeah, we are asked about this all the time. We have partners, and with Juniper, we are always working towards carbon credits, and how can we help them? How do we trade clean energy to some of the energy consumption we have? All of this kind of stuff. We have lots of partnerships with energy companies in that. So it goes from product, the process, the people, to the business processes and execution with our customers. Very top of mind for us.
Excellent. So, I mean, we covered a fair amount of ground. So before we finish, finally, I don't know if you've got any other things you want to sort of talk about, or maybe leave people with one or two bits of advice. I mean, clearly, virtually every company out there will have some kind of network infrastructure. They will have their own individual problems. But if you were to give one or two general pieces of advice as to, what people should be aware of that's either coming, or, how to improve what they're currently doing, it'd be great if you could share one or two bits of advice.
Happy to, Phil. So I think the hardest problem people have right now is differentiating between AI in PowerPoint to AI in product, right? Because everybody has AI. There's AI washing everywhere. And so the way we have proven value is really by literally only one thing, right? And there is only one way we can prove value, is when somebody actually tries our product, right? In presentations, in PowerPoints, in demos, every competitor's product looks the same. But when you put the product through its paces and actually test it out in a proof of value, in a proof of concept, that's where you separate the real AI companies from the rest of them. And so my advice to people building the network of the next decade, thinking of what the network should look like as they move forward, is you have to try it out. Everybody's story is going to sound the same. Everybody's messaging and PowerPoint is going to look the same. You have to try it out. That is the singular thing that we ask our customers. When someone tries the Juniper product, probably a greater than 95% chance that they will build with it. But if we don't try it, that's where we lose. Sometimes when people don't actually try it and everybody's PowerPoint looks the same. So that's my singular ask of everybody is, as you build your network for the next decade, please try it out. And then the last piece on what do you look when you try it out, when you actually put the network through the paces, what can you expect? What is the value AI brings at the end of the day to IT operations and user experience? We put it in 4 simple constructs. Number one, we want your network, literally every single Juniper missed customer, anywhere in the world, you find them on LinkedIn or Twitter or in your network circle. If you ask them if these 4 things happen to them, the answer would be yes. First, it'll be the fastest deployment you have ever done. Second, it'll be the network with the fewest tickets than you've ever gotten. A self-driving network means that we have to resolve tickets before they bother people, and so fewer tickets. Number 3 is when you do get a ticket, this is the fastest mean time to resolution. And number 4 is the simplest, easiest operations of the network for the long term, because you buy a network once and you operate it for 7 years, 10 years, whatever it takes, right? So those 4 things, fast deployment, near zero to low tickets, fastest resolution, and easiest operations. So that's the end results of AI, right? If you take out all the mumbo jumbo magic out of AI, it should just mean that, and better experience for users. So that's it. Try it out and expect those outcomes, and I think it would be good.
Okay, no, it's been great to chat to you today. So really appreciate your time. Thank you very much indeed.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil.